Pregnancy can be challenging in normal circumstances. However, making the necessary adjustments to welcome a newborn home is an event within itself. Making the adjustments when expecting any can also be challenging and present certain difficulties. Within this training, resettlement practitioners, sponsors, and volunteers will learn some of the essential factors to consider when attempting to safely prepare for and create a welcoming space for an expecting newcomer family. Hello, my name is Lynette Pearl, and I'm with Refugee Housing Solutions, and I'm the Senior Housing Associate. Today, in our training, factors to consider when housing expecting family. Our presenter, Ms. Pearl, is a Christian and DUNA-trained birth doula who has assisted expecting mothers and families successfully for nearly 5 years. Ms. Pearl specializes in helping high-risk pregnancies of vulnerable populations, such as newcomer families, mothers who have experienced trauma before, during, and after birth. Ms. Pearl regularly attends trainings to grow her skill set and knowledge, such as spinning babies and hypnobirthing. Currently, she's a certified prenatal and perinatal birth psychology educator, Body Ready Method Pro, and lactation specialist. She is also a self-published author of the book titled Renewing Your Mind on Reproduction Ladder: How to Obtain Immunity from Infertility and Miscarriage. Believing in the power of Jesus, love, and bonding, positive thoughts, and education, Ms. Pearl, she uses these tools to decrease physical complications, premature birth, medical interventions, traumatic deliveries, and postpartum depression. So, why does Ms. Pearl love this work so much? It allows Ms. Pearl to blend her faith and a Bachelor of Arts in Biology with her Master of Arts in Counseling that results in the most optimal outcomes for both moms and babies. So welcome, Ms. Pearl.
Hi, Lynette. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. And I'm so excited to talk on this topic because it's a very important one. And so welcome everyone, whether you're here at the live recording or if you're watching this later. So let's get into this topic. So a lot of what I'm going to be talking about today is a lot of common sense. And one of the things I like to talk about is getting back to the basics, because there's so much that we've gotten so far from the truth that we don't know what the basics of things are. But the basics are important because it's the foundation. And once you have the foundation understood, then everything else goes well. So pregnancy is a luxury and not a survival state. And when I mean a survival state, I mean it's not part of our survival system. So when a mom is stressed, all of her energy, all of her blood is going to work really hard to go to the arms, to the legs, to the heart, because it's going into a fight, flight, or freeze mode, which means if a mom is consistently under stress, that means that baby's not getting much because it's not part of the survival. So our body is designed to either be in survival mode or thrive mode. It can only be in one mode at one time. It's not going to do both. So that's the understanding that we need to come from. And here's my personal model when I work with families. Show me a high-risk pregnancy and I'll show you a woman with unresolved trauma. And I want to talk about this and make this clear, because this is why in the United States, we have all of this money for maternal care. We have all of these different interventions. However, some of our outcomes are not as great, maybe as some third world countries. And the reason why is when we look at maternal outcomes per se, we're only looking at how does a mom and a baby, if they survive the birth, the pregnancy and the birth, not necessarily how do they really the outcomes overall, which I mean, like, how does that woman fare in that perinatal period? So when I talk about maternal outcomes, I'm talking about complete health. It's a wholeness, the wholeness of the person, the complete person. And that means we want that mom having that best experience pregnancy-wise, as well as after birth, where she doesn't feel disconnected to the baby. She's not struggling with a whole lot of perinatal mood disorders because there's so much that went wrong or went unaddressed. So let's talk about pregnancy, because when we're talking about housing expecting mothers, I wanted to use the loss phenomenon. And so we're going to just do this imagery activity. So what I want you to do, and I know you might not be live, but I still want you to go through the process because it's important, because pregnancy is an experience. And that's the most experience is the thing that we have in our mental and our emotional. And I want to make this clear about the medical world is that it is based on an atheist philosophy. It does not take into consideration the mental and emotional state of a person. But what we know is that your mental and emotional state actually is what your body is processing, and it turns out to be symptoms. And so we're going to talk about what it is to be lost. So what I want you to do is just to close your eyes, and I just want you to breathe. Deep breath in, exhale out. Deep breath in, exhale out. Deep breath in, exhale out. And one more deep breath in and exhale out. Just keep your eyes closed. And what I want you to envision is yourself just coming into this dark, long tunnel. And you're just walking. And you're walking. Then what I want you to do as you're sitting there, I just want you just to sit. And think about this, because I know we all have experienced this. Maybe you got lost as a child who wandered off. Or maybe as an adult driving around, trying to find a place. Pick one time you were lost. Go to that time and go to that place. Where were you? Was it daytime or nighttime? What were you planning to do? What happened that led to you getting lost? Were you distracted? If distracted, what was the distraction? Were you headed to an unknown location? Were you given wrong directions by a person or by GPS? Did you take a wrong turn? Or did you just get lost because you're not familiar with the place and nothing felt like it was right? How and when did you know you were lost? Were you with others at the time and became lost because you wandered off or somehow became separated? Before you knew you were lost, how did you feel? Once you knew you were lost, how did you feel? What thoughts went through your mind? Was you able to think clearly? The longer you were lost, what effect did it have on your thoughts? What effect did it have on your emotions? What effect did it have on your senses? As you sit here and meditate on that feeling of being lost, what sensations do you feel in your body right now? What's tight? What's tense in your body? Has your heartbeat increased? Has your body temperature risen? Are you breathing faster and more shallow? What do you feel on the left side of your body? What do you feel on the right side of your body? The front of you, what do you feel? What do you feel on the back side of you? What do you feel on the top of you? And what do you feel on the bottom of you? Now, what I want you to do is take in a deep breath and let it out. Take in another deep breath and let it out. Take in one more deep breath and let it out. And when you're ready, I want you to open your eyes. And so even if you're watching this, like I said, this recording, and it's not live, I still want you to go through this activity. And I want you to jot down those feelings, those thoughts, those emotions, what you were experiencing in your body, those sensations. But I do have my mom in here because I want to use her as a person, someone to demonstrate on. So Mom, if you would unmute yourself, I'm going to ask you a few questions.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay. So tell me, what was that exercise like for you?
It actually took me back to a time when I was in a place that I didn't recognize. I was actually going to visit a relative, but prior to that, you ask what had happened prior to that. How did I feel? Prior to my taking that trip, I was very exhausted. I'd had a very long day. It was dark. I actually went a route that I normally go, so I should have recognized the landmarks, but it was really weird because I was exhausted. It was dark and things began to look different. As I was at that place, I became stressed because I couldn't find my way out the route to get to the relative house. The more I tried to bring my mind to recognize the route, and I could not, the more stressed I got. I was nervous. I began to breathe hard. And I was fear. The fear was that I was in a place I was going to be harmed. I thought perhaps that the more I thought about being harmed, the more fear I had. Then I became very frustrated to the point that I was yelling. Somehow I just stopped. I pulled the car, sat the road, and just settled down. Then I was able to really recognize some of the landmarks. And from that time, when I calmed myself down, I was able to really to leave that place. I wasn't as nervous. My hand wasn't shaking, but they were sweaty.
Mhm.
And I was able to come out of that place and find the right route to the relative house, but not until I stopped and sat and calmed myself down could I recognize those landmarks.
Okay. And I have a question. So when you were actually going through that just now, what were you feeling in your body as you were going through that exercise?
Nervous.
Nervous. Did any part of your body feel tense?
Yeah.
What part of your body?
Actually, it seems like in my chest got a little tight in my chest, just
Okay.
remembering that. And the more I remember things like that, I kind of get a little bit dizzy or lightheaded. I know that sounds weird, but I do. So a little bit dizzy and lightheaded when I actually took myself back to that place that night.
Okay. And I have a question. That area you were going to, is it a safe neighborhood?
It is a safe neighborhood. It is safe. At the time with the darkness, my imagination just ran wild. But
Okay.
now, yeah, but it is a safe neighborhood. Yes.
So let me ask you this question. So does being lost in an area that looks safe take away anxiety?
No.
Exactly. And this is what I want to talk about is it's called the polyvagal theory. Feeling safe is a subjective experience. It's not enough to know that mentally that you're safe. Safety only becomes a reality when one feels safe. It doesn't matter if a person's in paradise if their mind is chaotic. And Mom, thank you. You can go ahead and put yourself on mute again. But I'm going back into the presentation. And I think the COVID-19 restrictions definitely taught us a lot about ourselves. Most people, they just don't do well with silence and being in solitude, even if they're with their family members. And part of that is because we've become dependent living off somebody else's energy, their enthusiasm, in order to avoid working on ourselves. And this is the thing that I want to talk about when it comes to all of this with housing. So when you're looking at housing, you're thinking, oh, I'm finding this fantastic neighborhood and, they're in America and, they're going to feel safe. Wrong. They're not going to necessarily feel safe because peace and safety is a matter of mental state. It's a matter of intention, working on things that need to be worked on. And I'll just say this about pregnancy. Like my mom was talking about when she was lost, that feeling of feeling lightheaded, even more so with pregnancy because your body is physically moving things around. So there's not a whole lot of room for breathing, especially as you get into those later months. So it's easy for if a mom starts to get stressed out and she's starting to become nervous and she's having an anxiety attack. Yeah, she's definitely going to be feeling lightheaded. She's definitely not going to be able to think straight, be able to function, maybe able to recognize things, know things that she already knows because things become really unfamiliar, even when you're in a familiar place. So for a refugee, that's what it is. It's a consistent loss experience that they're having. It's consistently because if we're having people with, right now with pregnancy, there's a lot of prenatal mood disorders, even among natives. So you can imagine people coming from a different country, not being familiar with things, and just being thrown into the society. It's not enough just for them to be in what you consider a safe neighborhood. They need to feel like they're safe. And I'm not saying that you can control all factors, but we're going to talk about some of the things that might be more helpful for expecting mom to make her feel more safe, or at least give her the opportunity to access things that are going to make her feel safe while she's pregnant. And so, so I wanted to, I'm sorry, let me go back here. So when I say the loss experience, we're going to go back to loss experience. The loss physically, there's constant movement in order to get here. Maybe they're located in a new city, a new country, maybe even a new continent. Loss culturally, new spiritual belief, customs and traditions, language, food's different, quality of living's different. loss financially. You know, we have different education requirements to work in certain fields. So they might have to get more training, might have to get more education to be able to work in the same field they work in their native country. Loss medically, receiving little or to no prenatal care, or sometimes they don't receive any care, substandard care, lack of proper vaccination, nutrition, loss of security, high risk of experiencing emotional, physical, and sexual assault, both inside and outside of their homeland. And so maternal outcomes, I wanted to compare what's happening and with all that different stress, what is it creating? So they're saying for miscarriages, how they're experiencing 1.56 to 1.58 times more miscarriages than natives. And in the United States, we're experiencing 26% of all pregnancies result in miscarriage in the United States. In terms of stillbirths, 1.2 to up to 12.29 more likely times than natives to have a stillbirth. So in the United States right now, it is 1 in 160 pregnancies. So it's even higher than that. So it's showing you the different stress level. I would say it's almost this. Most people have childhood trauma, but when you're talking about a refugee woman, she has not only have her childhood trauma, but she has that trauma of all the different things that might happen in transition. So it's trauma on top of trauma. And so I just put some of the factors in here just to show you like all the things that can be very stressful for anybody, but especially for an expecting woman. And you know, there's the spiritual aspect, like I said, the psychosocial, emotional, environmental, chemical, nutritional, cultural, physical factors that happen. And the whole point is when you're housing, what's important is going to be location, location, location. And you want to make sure that there's easy access to things that they may need. I know sometimes, you know, a lot of them are coming over here, they don't have transportation. So it's important that they be very close to things that are going to be great services to kind of keep all of that anxiety down, or places that they can receive help. So places that you want to consider, maybe places that are close to their actual or potential places of employment, educational institutions, whether it be for them or children, because a lot of people, if they're expecting, they generally have other small children and they need to get them back and forth from school. And you want to make that easy, you want to make that convenient. Hospital, urgent care, health providers, pharmacies, that way they're able to get those different services. Like it's more than just them getting their prenatal checkups. It might be that they might need to see a pelvic floor therapist. They might need some physical therapy. And so you want to make sure they have easy access to get those services for themselves and their little ones. Mental health centers, definitely, because like we saw, they're experiencing a lot of trauma, and trauma can definitely cause a lot of problems in pregnancy. Like I said, show me a high risk pregnancy and I'll be a traumatized mom. So you want to make sure they're close to mental health centers that serve diverse communities. They understand different cultural aspects, but also most importantly, trauma-informed therapy. They know how to work with people with trauma. Definitely grocery stores, superstores, hardware stores, anything that can help upkeep the home. Places of worship, if possible, that's in their denomination or part of their affiliation. And also neighborhoods that include residents of the same culture. It's nice to be able to have someone that can speak the same language. They understand your traditions, and they can help your families navigate the community around them. And so rental units and houses, another thing I want to talk about, and this is just things that inside the home or in and outside the home that should be considered, is environmental pollution, unclean water, and also something that we don't really think about is cellular towers. Some people are very sensitive to all the different signals that are happening. So if you can avoid those kind of areas, that would be probably better for mom. I'm saying it's going to be difficult, especially if they need to be a place that's centrally located to services. But if there's a possibility, you can just kind of look around and see where those different, especially the 5G towers, if you can kind of avoid those areas, that would be great. Chemicals is, I would say this is, definitely when you're moving a person into a new housing unit, that there's going to be some remodel, making sure those units are seeing if they're checking it, see if they're using non-toxic chemicals, but there are some toxic chemicals that can't be avoided, but you want to make sure that those places are aired out well before a family, expecting family moves in, before little ones move in, and that they're cleaned up so that, little kids, they put stuff in, they touch stuff and they put stuff in their mouth. So you're trying to prevent them from, doing those kind of things and creating another health issue, if that makes any sense. Course structure and things that can be done is giving them items to childproof, especially if there's already little ones, making sure like with electrical outlets, doors and windows are secure so they're not able just to run out of them. And I would just say, as like a nice housewarming gifts would be to give them childproofing items, giving them non-toxic cleaning chemicals, because unfortunately in the United States, there are some chemicals that we allow use that can be very toxic to moms and families that aren't necessarily legal to use in other nations. And so being able to show them what the safe products are would be nice to be able to give families. And I have some references to all the different information that I've presented that you can go back and read more about. But this is the end of our presentation. Lynette, did you have any questions? Lynette?
Now, I just want to thank you for presenting this information again. My name is Lynette Pearl. I'm the Senior Associate of Housing Association. And if you want to get additional information and contact Ms. Pearl, please reach out to us at www.refugeehousing.org and we can get you her information, and this will be uploaded on our website as a resource. Again,
Lynette,
thank
hold
you.
on one second. Lynette, I want to say, so I want to let everyone know the doula service I offer. I do preconception coaching and education, prenatal and postpartum bonding and coaching, childbirth education, birth partner support training, birth planning, body ready method coaching, and doula birth support. I have information also on my books if you want access to them, and they are Christian based. And this is how you can contact me. I have my email address and my website. I'm redoing it, so it's under construction, so it's down for now. But thank you for this opportunity. And I'm finished, Lynette. Sorry about that.
No, again, if you have any additional questions after this webinar, please reach out to us at www.refugeehousing.org. And again, this information will be uploaded if you need to get a hold of Ms. Pearl. Again, thank you, Ms. Pearl, for presenting, and you have a blessed day, everyone. Bye-bye.